Today we're going to discuss what you can do and how to really prevent the misuse of AI in the classroom. So we're trying to help students by going through different processes, by doing things in the classroom to help mitigate that, to help prevent the misuse of AI by the students. So there's some very specific things that we can go through. There's 5 different components to really think about and utilize to help the student not violate academic integrity and to make the classroom this much better as far as the overall process for teaching and learning. So the first one deals with policy. So with policy, we have the macro as well as the micro. The macro here talks about university policies. What can you point to the students and say, hey, look at our university policy, look at our overall policy dealing with what is allowable, what is not. There should be something specific in that policy. If they use AI and they're not allowed to because the instructor hasn't given them permission to use it for an assignment specifically, for an assessment, then it's considered cheating. So this allows the instructor to then point to the university-wide policy. So that's an overall macro look at policy and how it's implemented. But carrying that on a bit further, there should also be policies within the classroom, your own policy as the instructor. What do you have listed within your syllabus? There should be a statement there about AI. Oh, I plan to use AI throughout the class, or I'm not allowing you to use AI within the assignments, within tests. Be very specific. And if it's still unknown, say that things might be changing throughout the class, but have something there specific for the student to then start to have a clear understanding of what they are allowed to use and what they are allowed to do within the classroom dealing with AI. So that policy aspect is sort of an overall thing to help them. So that would be step one of these components. Now, going further, we also have the assignments themselves, right? So how are we creating assignments? How are we creating the assessments? One of the very big things that I push to all instructors is to use the share technique. It's very simple, and it simply breaks it down as far as making the assignments, the assessments stronger, more authentic, so that they're tied to the experience that the students have in the classroom. It ties in with the topic, but it also is very specific to the things that you've gone through in the classroom, the experiences that they've had, guests that have come in, special case studies that you've created. By making it that much more specific and tying it into the instruction, it's that much harder for students to simply use AI to do everything for them, right? Because of these specific experiences that they've had in the classroom. Along with that, we have the letter H, which is high price for false information, meaning that we don't just take off a few points if they submit something that isn't fully correct as far as made up information or false references. No, they get docked a lot because that's an indicator that AI was used, right? That hallucinations were made. So again, you be the judge of that, but that should be something that's expressed to the student, specifically in the rubric, saying, hey, there's a high price for false information, for things that are hallucinated, for things that are made up. And again, especially if it seems like an AI did this, there's going to be a bigger price to pay. Additionally, there are other techniques to use for assessment besides simply the essay. The essay is something that we go to all the time, and it's great. It's a very powerful assessment technique, but we have to think that there are other assessment techniques that we can use. In addition to the essay, we could make a shorter essay and also have a presentation in the classroom. There could be actual projects that they create. They could have videos that they have to create. They could have artwork, podcasts, all sorts of things that a student would have to do specifically to turn in, and that could be another form of assessment. So again, other additional techniques for assessment is definitely one to think about. Additionally, these assessments could be done in class, thereby negating the student's ability to use AI if it's done in class, right? They're not allowed to use their phones, and you do a quiz, you do an in-class test, you do some sort of assessment within the class. That would also negate that in some way. So again, a mixture of all of that would also be very powerful, as well as group work, problem-based learning, project-based learning. All those can come together as a way that the student would have to be accountable more for their learning as opposed to just the AI. So that's, again, another way that we can help to prevent the misuse of AI. The R for the share technique deals with reflection, critical analysis, and feedback, meaning that you're now requiring the student to have some critical analysis of the feedback that they receive. So you turn in one project, you give them feedback, and now they have to analyze that feedback and think about their process within the main project and then reflect on that. It could be done in class, could be an out of class assignment. But again, if it's done in class, well, now they're held more accountable and they can't just use the AI to complete it. So again, a mixture of that. There's different ways of implementing that, but having some personalized reflection that they have to go through could be a great way to do that. And then finally, expand the assignment. So again, this means that we make the assignment have multiple aspects and multiple processes with that. Things like if you're using the essay, you could have them turn in a rough draft. Halfway through, you could have them turn in steps such as an outline, the rough draft, track changes, all sorts of different components that would expand it, that gives you an opportunity to see their progression. And if it's something that is night and day from the rough draft to their final, well, that could be an indicator that maybe they're misusing it, so then you can remind them of that. These different aspects here within the share technique is yet another great and powerful way to help to mitigate the way that students are using AI. And then the next big one here is a discussion. This is a powerful technique here, the discussion. This is what I've used all throughout my last semester when I was teaching my class, is that for every single assignment, I would start to introduce the assignment and talk about what it is. And then I would go in and I would specifically ask this question directly to the students. I would say, okay, so let's talk about AI in this assignment. How could we use AI for this? And then they would come up with all sorts of great ideas. And again, the involvement is really important. I would ask them how we could use it. And then I would say, should we use it? Should we use AI for this assignment? Maybe we could use it for part of the assignment, but not for this assignment. Well, what's the real objective of this assignment, right? What is the student learning objective for this assignment? Why are we going through this? If we use AI for this, would it help us to gain this SLO, or would it kind of hinder that? And I would ask these questions directly to the students to make them think and get their discussion on this so that they could then start to formulate, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't use the AI for this. And then I would say, okay, no, let's go ahead and use AI for this part, but maybe not for this part. And then we would come to an agreement together as a classroom and then go from there as far as how AI would be used. And again, I'd be very specific so that there'd be a clear understanding, and then I would incorporate that into the instructions as well as into the rubrics so that everybody would know where they could use AI and where they couldn't use AI. So again, that's a great and really powerful way to implement the way that the AI is being used in the classroom. This next one here deals with class environment. So this would be sort of an aspect of instructional presence, right? How is this class being organized and formed? That makes a huge difference on students' use of AI and cheating in general. The class structure itself. Am I having these assignments properly spaced out? Am I doing formative assessment as well as summative assessment? Because if I just have one big assignment that's due in the middle of the class and then one big assignment at the end, so there's only two opportunities, right? Two opportunities for the students to gain points. Guess what? They're more likely to cheat. Research has shown that. If you have just these big assignments and that's it, well, then the stakes will be so high that students will feel obligated that, oh, I got to get good grades because these are my only opportunity, these two big assignments, and that leads to more likeliness of students cheating. So if we can spread it out a bit more, well, then that helps with the overall understanding that the students, they're seeing, oh yeah, I am making this progression, I am understanding the material, so I'm much less likely to cheat, I'm much less likely to use AI to sort of supplement what I'm doing. So that's an important thing. Additionally, along with that, dealing with how is this class environment, we have to make sure that we're thinking about, is this a secure and safe environment? Are the students able to talk? Are the students able to express themselves properly? And then us as the instructors, are we approachable, right? That's a big thing, because if the student feels that, oh, I can't go and say anything to this instructor, so I'm not going to ask questions, I'm not going to interact. And so since I don't know the answer, I'm going to go to a tool that can give me the answers, such as ChatGPT, such as some other AI. So again, we want to make sure that we're not making it so that students don't feel comfortable talking to us, talking to the class itself. So we really have to develop that environment. So that's a primary way to help to ensure that the student doesn't resort to using AI when they don't really need to. Again, the way that we facilitate that class will go a long way to mitigating and to ensuring that the AI isn't being misused in the classroom. And then the final one here is really important, and this deals with motivation. Motivation within that classroom. We have to ensure that the students are motivated to learn the actual content. And this comes mainly, there's many different components to motivation, right? But the big one that we really have to push for is relevancy. Students have to see, what is the relevancy? Why should I learn this, right? How is this going to help me right now? How is this going to help me in the future? We have to be sure that we as the instructors articulate this multiple times throughout the class to ensure that the students is understanding, oh yeah, this is important. I do need to know this on my own so that later I can better understand this. And even using the AI, I have to incorporate it in the right way so that I'm not just over relying on the AI, right? So that ties in with an overall aspect to all of this in that we do want AI integration. We don't want to make the class so that it prevents the use of AI. No, we just want to ensure that the students are using the AI appropriately. So that means that we are developing the AI literacy skills of our students. In order to do that, we have to develop it within ourselves first. So it's important for us to play around with the AI and then to use specific prompts to think about different ways of using it with instructional design, how to enhance our courses. So again, we need to use the AI within the class. We need to create opportunities for the students to use the AI for some aspects of the assignment, for some aspects of preparing for a test maybe. Again, we need to think about that. What's most appropriate for the class that you're teaching? And then think about different ways that AI can be integrated. That's what students want, and that's what students need. They need to have these AI literacy skills in order to be effective right now in the workplace, not in the future. Right now, they need to have these skills. So it's important that we think about all these different things in order to ensure that we're making the best teaching and learning experience for that student to really gain and to really develop their AI literacy so that they can be effective. So these 5 components are very important. We need to think about each one so that when we implement them within our classroom, it really enhances the overall experience and the students don't resort to using it inappropriately. We have to make sure that they know what appropriate is, what inappropriate is, and then we guide them to the best path possible for overall success. By doing these things, it'll make the classroom that much more effective, efficient, and pleasant, right? It'll be pleasant for you as the instructor, as well as for the students, so that they'll know what to do, what not to do, and so that you don't have to deal with inappropriate use of AI as well.